Well, you're cut out halfway. So clearly a little bit of a different. First off, what do you get in there and make sure the mics are rolling? Are we good with this? I'm gonna scoot back.
You don't think we should go the other way? What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna scoot back. This is so great. Make sure our sound is going. Can you hear us on the video? Once you can, we'll roll.
Did Clay think we were going to bring all the cameras in
here? Can you hear? We're good? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so clearly a little bit of a different setup. We are at Beausoleil for...
Super nice spot.
It is a really nice spot. Cute little restaurant across from Don Juan's on Corporate. But we are here to do a little mini Beyond the Box. There's a charity event going on called Smoke 'em If You Got 'em. Don Juan, our wonderful sponsor, sponsors this event as well. And it's, benefiting nonprofit organizations that support military veterans and first responders.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And first responders. But we decided we were going to set up the phone and we were going to go live and we were going to talk about that LSU baseball game today, the whole series this weekend. We did a Friday night show at Modesto. We thought a sweep was going to happen. A sweep did not happen. LSU took an L today to Auburn.
Yeah, it wasn't the way we drew it up. Yeah.
Before
you did see our boy Kay Anderson on the
mound. And it's been how long since what? You've been calling for that since,
I don't know, 6 weeks probably.
Thoughts on his performance?
I felt bad for him. I really did. I mean, I don't know. It was
thrown into a rough situation.
Yeah, I mean, when you have such a short leash and it's such a must-win game, you don't get. We talked about this with Thatcher Hurd a little bit this year, right? Where he hasn't been able to develop because we need to win. And so when you have those expectations, right, like your leash is super short. And obviously things did not go his way today. He gave up 5 runs in the first inning. And again, Bleeder that scored the first run, then a ground ball that would have been a routine out to shortstop, and then another one that was exactly the same type hit. But we had a shift on, so there was nobody there. So in the box score, it's going to look a lot uglier than what it actually was.
That's what I'm very curious about because not one, they shifted once, they shifted twice, and it happened twice. 2 of those hits came on the shift.
Yeah.
So whatever reason the shift happened in the first place, why was it?
I don't know. That's not. It's got to be some sort of analytics. There had to have been some data that said that this is where this player hits the ball a certain percentage of the time, so we're going to put fielders in this position. And again, Jay Johnson and his staff, have made these decisions. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? So if the balls, are right at the guys in the outfield and all that stuff, and they make great, if the ball was up the middle or something like that, and we get an out, they look like geniuses. So, but unfortunately, that's not the way it unfolded today. And so, it looks bad on Kate Anderson. I feel bad for him again. I don't think he necessarily deserved that. It's tough draw.
So, as a pitcher, what does that do for his confidence? And I know we all know what it does for his confidence. You finally get a Sunday start. You get pulled in the first inning. It's just an unfortunate series of events that happens. How do you bounce back from that?
Hopefully you got a good staff, that's going to kind of explain to him the scenario, the situation. Hopefully he knew that kind of going in. And then it's on leadership probably to kind of, and when that's amongst the team, I think to be able to put their arm around him and just kind of coach him up a little bit and let him know how important he is to the team going down the stretch. And that kid doesn't seem like these moments are too big for him. That wasn't a case of him not being able to throw strikes and being nervous or anything like that. Again, they put the ball in play. It was just right where guys weren't. It's one of those things that it shouldn't affect his confidence too much. So he seems like a strong kid. He seems like the type of kid that has the makeup, like Terry Rooney said on our show, weeks back. I think he'll be fine. He'll be able to bounce back, and hopefully they give him another shot.
Okay, so I want to switch to yesterday's game. Something quite interesting happened that I think both of us were like, what is going on? You have Hayden Travinsky on third, and I think you had a runner on first or second.
Are you talking about the squeeze?
Yeah, I'm talking about the freaking squeeze.
So it was second and third, 1 out.
Second and third, 1 out.
Yeah, 4th inning.
Alonzo squares around to, I guess, squeeze.
Yeah.
And Hayden
fouls it off.
Travinsky ends up...
He fouled off the first one. So we didn't just do it once. We did it twice.
We did do it twice. And then Hayden Travinsky ends up in a rundown.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it. I don't, again, Jay Johnson's one of the greatest coaches. I always want to preface this and say that, but that's not what we know as LSU baseball. I think that was poor timing, in my opinion. Again, hindsight is always 20/20. If it happens, we're up 3-2. You never know if the box responds well to it, but it didn't go well, and that's kind of the worst case scenario. Is it doesn't go well, and that runner gets tagged out. The box is kind of squirming a little bit. It's quiet. You could see how awkward it was in there. And then the next batter strikes out. And you don't get any runs when it's second and third with one out. That's really tough draw. And I think it loses the crowd. It loses the momentum that we had. That dude had a huge 2-out, 2 RBI double to put us up 4-0 the night before. But in the bottom of the 7th inning, that kind of solidified the game, right? That guy's a senior leader. He's one of the guys that you count on to hit in those situations. Now, I know his average hasn't been the best throughout the year, or he isn't the traditional, whatever. I don't care. He rose to that occasion the night before. In my opinion, you let him swing away right there. So, again, hindsight's always 20/20. When it doesn't go well, it's easy to kind of second-guess coaching and stuff like that. But I would have liked to see him swing away for sure.
Second-guess coaching, I think it's fair. Like, the point you brought up, this is not the LSU baseball we're used to. It's very different. Squeeze bunting is shifting. Like, all of that is very different than what we're used to from LSU baseball as a culture. So I think it's very fair, as somebody who played for LSU and as somebody who covers LSU, to ask those questions, or to maybe give a little bit of pushback of, like, I would have done something different. Now, granted, Jay Johnson is the coach, but fair to ask questions like that.
Yeah, I just again, we're not used to it. We're not accustomed to it. I think you see that in the fans, right? That's like, it's just market data, right? You look in the crowd. The crowd is not into the game as much. It's hard to score more. We didn't score another run until the bottom of the 9th. So, I'm not saying that we would have scored a ton after that, but again, I kind of went into the game thinking Luke Coleman's going to control the game. We're going to score a ton of runs. As long as we have momentum on our side, I think the box will get behind it. But when something like that happens in the 4th inning, it's kind of like,
Right.
And so I think you saw that. And then today was weird. I watched the game on TV. I wasn't there, but there were a lot of open seats at that game. And on a Sunday afternoon with beautiful weather like this in Baton Rouge, usually that box is packed. So I don't want to say, the fans aren't showing up. It's obviously been a tough year for LSU baseball, but I think also the product that's out on the field and the things that are happening are probably have something to do with that as well.
Yeah. We'll keep it short and sweet. I know they're about to do a program outside, so can you guys go get content of that? Thank you. Just for anybody just tuning in, we are at Beausoleil for a charity event called Smoke 'em If You Got 'em. It does benefit nonprofit organizations that support.
Sorry, go ahead.
What?
I was gonna chat. I'm trying
to talk about charity event.
Sorry.
He's all up in the camera.
Well, I figured people were listening to you, and I would start reading some of the messages.
They're more worried about your face being all up in the
I don't think so. They're listening to you.
We're at a charity event called Smoke 'em If You Got 'em at Beausoleil. Our sponsor, Don Juan Cigar Bar, sponsors this event as well. It has a great purpose. The benefits do go to nonprofit organizations that support military veterans and first responders. So, of course, we're going to be about it. I know you have military ties in your family. I do as well. So personal kind of meaning here.
Absolutely, yeah, no. So that's why, and anybody who supports our show, especially, financially and allows us to use their space to grow our show and things like that, we are more than indebted to. So we want to make sure that we help our community. That's what we're all about here. They're helping us, we help them. So we're coming here trying to create some content, tell some stories about it, show up and support. And like you said, obviously it hits home for both of us. My dad was a Navy CB. His dad was in the Navy. My dad fought in Vietnam. His dad fought in the Korean War, I believe. Yeah. So I just wanted to, but again, I'm, military stuff has been very important to me. I grew up, funny story, my first 5 years of my life, well, I guess maybe 3 when I started talking, 3 to 6, 7 years old before I was kind of good at sports. My dad would make me introduce myself to people and say, hey, I'm Anthony Ranaudo, and I'm going to attend the Naval Academy at Annapolis. That's how I would introduce myself. So again, military in my background, as my family, my dad, military man. So, Veterans Day, all those holidays that support our veterans, our troops, all those things. My dad's still very much involved in the VA and things like that. So it's important to me. So I'm happy to be here, happy to support our people. The honoree that they are honoring today is an absolute badass. So I'm sure we'll have some stuff in the show notes kind of telling things about him. He's kind of under the radar, rightfully so. But the things he's been through and the things he's done for our country are absolutely incredible. And you and I don't get to do cool stuff like this every single day without people like him and heroes like him and all the people that wear our uniforms and stuff and serve our country. So very much a cool day, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Okay, you can go ahead and
Sorry, yeah.
Chat.
Well, can you imagine if you were writing stuff in the chat and then we were just ignoring them? Why would they ever want to write back?
This was you.
Yeah, well, sorry, we're in a different setting here, and I have to see this. Where do we go from here? Heading into the Texas A&M series. Claire, it's wow, that's a lot better. Why didn't we have it angled like this? We were just trying to show you all of you.
Bro.
What? I'm just saying, like this is a lot better. Now I'm actually in the camera.
Well,
I'm in the camera.
Closer to me. Go ahead.
No. We just needed to tilt it a little bit. Gary, what's
Where do we
up?
go from
Cap.
here?
Yeah. Gary, what's Cap? Are you guys going streaking after this? Sam Mason, where did we get that idea from?
The bots in here are crazy. Every time we go live,
are you sure that's a bot?
I'm sweating a little bit because they make me.
Why?
Okay.
What is this? What do you mean? What bot's in where?
Maybe it's not a bot, but I don't know how. But every time we go live on the freaking phone, the comments are wild. Like for the draft, when we went live on the phone, we had to like remove people.
That's funny. All right. Gary, what's Cap? I want to know.
Yeah.
Chime in. Don't just say Cap. Let me hear what you got to say.
So there actually was a question in there that we should answer.
What? Where?
Where do we go from here? So you're coming off a series against Auburn that you thought you were going to sweep. You don't sweep it. You see Cade Anderson finally get a Sunday start. It doesn't turn out the way you want it to. You now go into a home series against the best team in the conference. What happens now?
You got to win a game. You have to win a game for sure. You can't get swept. And ideally, you would like to win the series. I mean, no doubt. You always want to win every series. But we've won 2 series in a row. If you can push another one together, that's 3 series in a row. If you can go 2 out of 3, that's 6 out of 9 that the Tigers would be at. And then you have a very winnable series at Alabama, and then a very winnable series at home against Ole Miss, right? And if you can sweep one of those, if you guys can, if they can get to 9, 10, 11 wins in the SEC, I think we have a chance at, getting into the regional, maybe 12 wins. I don't know. But again, can't finish in the bottom 2. So if we can beat Ole Miss, 3 games at home, if Alabama continues to fall a little bit in the SEC, there's still opportunity there. There really is. So if you get to Hoover, and then if you put on a good show in Hoover, that could happen.
Star, if you get to Hoover.
What sport are we talking about? Baseball. LSU baseball.
Baseball, for those of you who just joined. If you get to Hoover. Auburn and LSU right now are at the bottom, and the last 2 teams in the conference.
How did Ole Miss and Bama do this weekend? We won 2, so I mean,
how
if Ole Miss
and Bama did.
I know Ole Miss beat Bama on Friday night. Yeah. I don't know what happened Saturday or Sunday, but LJ13. What you got? I don't even know what type. Okay.
I told you.
Yeah.
The comments go crazy.
What is this, YouTube?
Yes.
Why is it different on the phone than it is on the computer?
How the algorithm pushes.
Yeah.
When you go live on the phone.
But maybe we should start doing this because these comments are ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, say something, LJ13, if you got to say something.
Well, he also asked.
I know. I said LSU baseball. Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay, that's good.
Series,
so we gained 2 games on Ole Miss this weekend because we won 2 out of 3. They lost 2 out of 3. So we shouldn't. What are the standings? We should be. We should be out of the bottom. I think Ole Miss is probably now in the bottom with what's their overall record? Does it say? It doesn't say Ole Miss. Yeah, I'm trying to see their.
Find Ole Miss's record.
Ole Miss's overall record. So. But again, we don't want to just finish in the bottom 2 in the SEC so we can get to Hoover. That's the biggest thing. You get to Hoover, you win a couple games there, you have some momentum going into the regional. Like we joked about earlier, it was the Tiger Invitational when I was there, right?
Yeah.
We're 7-14. So what's LSU? Are they now 7-14 as well?
I believe we have the same record.
Yeah. So we're tied. Yeah. So we're tied with Ole Miss.
So that was what's today? The 28th.
This
so
is
this
the
was
overall,
last week.
but this is just overall. That's not this isn't SEC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So find the SEC rankings going into this weekend.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
You can't finish in last. It's doable. We play Ole Miss, who it seems like that's who we're going to be battling with for that second spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should be, again.
We just squeeze in.
Yeah.
7-14, both
right.
LSU and Ole Miss.
But we're not far behind Alabama, too, so we can make some gap up against them next weekend, right? They're 9-12, so next weekend, if we sweep them, we'll be 10-14, and then Alabama would be 9-15, so we would jump them as well. So again, right? There is real possibility there. If you get hot, it's possible. We're playing the other two worst teams in the SEC, so we can get out of the basement. we can get into Hoover, and then if you win 2 or 3 in Hoover, you go to a regional. So.
And you and I were talking about this yesterday. I think a lot of fans, because of the individual success we saw and the star power on that team, we got kind of wrapped up in Skeens and Cruz and Morgan getting drafted and all the things that they won after the national championship. Kind of forgetting that last year's team wasn't phenomenal by any means. Yeah. Like, they struggled for a minute. And, like, even in Omaha, they were in the losers bracket. They lost that second game to Florida. It was a blowout. So, like, that wasn't a great team. And sorry to say it.
It's weird. It's weird because I think they were a great team, and when you look back on it, right, like you said, individually, I think there were some absolutely amazing players, and their record was good. They didn't have a bad year at all. They weren't like this year's team's record is tough, like in the SEC at least, right? So they weren't struggling like this, but there was a lot of question marks. I think that's the right way to say it about last year's team. Obviously, you had Skeens and Cruz and Morgan and Tommy White, but like putting wins together and finding that true second starter, I think that was a true turning point for us last year when Ty Floyd turned into that true second starter, right? There was a lot of question marks kind of going into the postseason last year. And so, yeah, I think people forget that when you win a national championship, but there's still possibilities.
Questions in the chat, King. There's also a bug. I don't know if y'all
6
see it.
out of the 9 games. I don't know it necessarily has to be. I keep forgetting about Texas. I was thinking we were going to Alabama next weekend. Yeah, it depends on next weekend and who Bama has and who they play. But yeah, you would think 6 out of 9 has to be somewhat the number, right? Yeah, I think 12 or 13 wins in the SEC is kind of what we need and what we kind of figure we need.
The bug landed on my face. I'm so sorry.
White and Jones choked. They didn't perform in the clutch. I wouldn't say choked, but I mean they didn't perform in the clutch, right? Yeah, I mean.
Jones did not choke.
I think he's talking about in the 8th inning or 7th inning. There was 8th or 7th.
They both had
7th. Yeah, there was opportunities. Yeah, and they could have. Tommy White, popped out or something like that, or flew out to right, and then Jared Jones struck out, and there was guys on base that they could have drove in to make the game a little closer or tie it. Yeah. So there's opportunities, but I mean this whole team has struggled with runners in scoring position, especially with 2 outs. So. I wouldn't single those 2 guys out. Those are supposed to be our leaders and our offensive guys, but they have carried us this whole year. So it's hard to get on them and have those crazy expectations that they're going to perform every time.
Yeah, and I do want to point this out. LSU leads it's not just the SEC. I think they
solo homers.
Yeah, and solo homers, but it's because we can't get we don't get guys on base or we leave them on base. Yeah. Like it's little things, right, that turn us around. Can you read that?
I said they both had opportunities with the bases loaded. So again, I'm not going to argue I'm not going to argue that they let us down or they choked, because I don't think they choked. I think that again they have let us. We wouldn't be anywhere near where we are without those 2 guys. So it's tough to say. They both hit back-to-back homers yesterday. They put us up 2-0, and we were up our only 2 runs for 8 innings. So again. We're down 2-0 and losing 2-0 without those 2 guys yesterday. So again, it's short memory. It's part of the game. They're not going to hit every single time. But I think as a whole, as a team, we need to do a better job of hitting in the clutch. And so those guys were included in that, right? Yeah.
Talking about
the game. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Okay, but again, they didn't choke. I don't think choke. I think choke is a harsh word. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think choke is a harsh word. That's all.
Yeah. What he said. Pullman yesterday, pulling him 113 pitches is a lot, right? When he got pulled in after 2 outs, he had a huge strikeout. And we heard on the TV how loud the Alex Box got, and like you could feel the energy. And you've been we've both been in there when the energy gets loud and the momentum starts to swing. And in a game like that, you can use every bit of that you can. Jay pulls Pullman right after that moment. Gavin Guidry comes in, but you're kind of icing that energy.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, I don't want to split hairs here, right? Ragging on Jay. I don't think we're doing that. I would rather look at the positives and say that he let Luke go out there for the 7th inning. Yeah, and that was pretty good. I love that. But yeah, I would have loved to see him. I mean, I'm a pitcher too, right? I don't ever want the ball out of my hands. I would have loved to see him go after that last batter after he struck the first 2 out. I think that does help the momentum, and it could have rallied us a little bit more. But again, Jay has a responsibility to these players. He's going to be a first rounder. He was already at 115 pitches, his highest on the year. So I understand it. I do. I didn't love it again because I'm a competitor, and I'm sure Luke wanted that opportunity. But Jay has a job to do, and it's to protect his pitchers as well. And it wound up working out. Yeah, it was a little nerve wracking because Alonzo let a ball go by, and did they score a run on that? No, right?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
but
no.
they got to second and third, and it was a little hairy for a second.
But they got out of it.
Yeah, they got out of it. Yeah.
All right, we'll keep it short and sweet, just 20 minutes today. We're going to go enjoy the event, and get some interviews, some social content, but we will be back on Tuesday after the midweek. Who do they have this week? Do we know?
Rambling. All right, hopefully we get a W there.
That would be really nice. We'll be back at Don Juan's on Tuesday. Make sure y'all swing by or tune in on YouTube. We appreciate y'all, and we will see y'all so soon. Turn off.